Ghost kitchens, they go by some slightly different names, cloud kitchen, dark kitchen, but the concept is the same. And I'm so psyched to welcome these gentlemen. We've had some super inspiring conversations. I've been educated. One of the reasons I wanted to do this session is to learn more about this concept. You all, I don't have to tell you, it is booming, hence the name of this session. And our 2022 restaurant technology study confirms that implementations of ghost kitchens are through the roof. So briefly defined, very briefly defined, this is going to be like a lightning round. A ghost kitchen is a restaurant kitchen without a brick and mortar restaurant. It prepares food for delivery and various forms of pickup. And you wonder why the idea didn't happen before? Why wasn't it a thing? I think technology has helped unleash it. So I'm going to give these gentlemen a minute each, literally lightning round, tell everybody who you are and just frame your brand for the audience before we dive into our discussion. Start with Geoff Alexander of WowBow.
Geoff Alexander, I'm the president and CEO of WowBow. We're an 18-year-old brand based out of Chicago, originally created by Let Us Entertain You. As of 2017, we got private equity backing, and in 2019, we had the idea to get involved in the dark kitchen space. Between April of 2020 through the end of this past year, we've opened over 600 locations across the country of operators selling our product out the back door.
Thanks.
I'm Michael Beacham. I'm the president of REEF Technologies. REEF is a global proximity company. We are the largest parking lot operator in North America, the largest ghost kitchen operator in the world. We operate over 180 brands. We're franchisees and licensees of everyone from Wendy's, Popeyes, Burger King, WowBow. That wasn't planned. TGI Fridays. I think we opened our first Chili's in Canada today. Donato's, Denny's, pretty much anyone in the industry. We operate a proximity convenience business, which we license. We're licensees, everyone from 7-Eleven to Milk Bar to Juice Press. We've got vertical farming. And all in, we operate on over 8,500 locations through 200 cities throughout North America, Europe, and the Middle East. And we do all this on our own internal tech platform called Proximity OS that grew out of a subsidiary company called OrderLord. And we operate in a very different model than a lot of my colleagues on the panel, and I'm very excited to be a part of this discussion today.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, my name is Hanson Li. I'm based in San Francisco. I run a restaurant group. We have a bunch of independent concepts that we own, ranging from a Chinese takeout concept that I started last year to Michelin 3-star fine dining. I did not grow up in the restaurant industry. Prior to starting Salt in 2014, I spent 10 years doing tech investing, both in the US and China. So happy to be here.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be here. I'm with Kitchen United. We consider ourselves to be the pioneer in the ghost kitchen space here in the US, now 4 years old. We power over 150 kitchens across the country, one of the largest ghost kitchens in what we would consider America's largest countries, or America's largest cities. We're focused in LA, Chicago, New York City, as well as throughout Texas. We've had the privilege of working with large and small brands over the past 4 years, from the Chick-fil-A's and the Portillo's to great mid-market brands like Doghouse and Hawaiian Bros, to your local favorites like Cantor's Deli and some celebrity chef-driven brands. Our foundation as a business is actually technology. Google has been our largest shareholder since the very beginning and continues to be so. We built our proprietary tech stack to power what we consider to be large distribution points in more meaningful ways, to utilize underutilized assets more efficiently for our restaurant partners. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it allows us to be more agile with our development strategy and focus more on an omni-channel approach of delivery, pickup, and walk-up traffic to maximize volume for our restaurant partners.
Nice, thank you. Our structure, we discussed various ways of approaching this because there's so many ways to come at ghost kitchens, and we're going to start by asking Michael from Kitchen United and Michael from REEF to talk about what is necessary to launch Ghost Kitchen. And then we're going to ask Hanson and Geoff as restaurant operators to comment on that, and then we'll go from there. So Michael Montagano, I'd love to start with you, Kitchen United. If I were going to launch a Ghost Kitchen, if I told you I was going to launch a Ghost Kitchen, what should I know?
Well, this may be surprising from someone to said our company is predicated on the technology that powers it, but location matters. And I would be very choosy about where you're going in throughout the country or the world. Wade, I think, made a very interesting point about really understanding the gap analysis with his business and where they traditionally play well and where there's other opportunities on the development side. We're happy to partner with them in New York City. And location really does matter. When we think about the primary reason that our restaurant partners do very well in our centers, it's that we've built a technology that allows them to have more of an omni-channel approach. So we're very much focused on, of course, maximizing delivery, but also pickup, also walk-up volume, also catering volume. And it's that perfect mix that tends to really make the value proposition make sense for underlying restaurant partners. Also on the technology piece is making sure you have the right distribution channels to generate enough volume. A lot of that will come from your third-party marketplaces. Others will come from native channel ordering. We focus on creating our own Kitchen United mixed channel, which powers 25 to 40% of all volume through our centers, allowing consumers more choice to order from multiple brands under one underlying ticket. The other part that's critically important is actually the physical infrastructure of the space. We have very standardized kitchens that allow 300 square feet, proper amperage, 12-foot hoods. That really matters when you begin to think about what are you actually going to cook under that hood, whether you're paring down a menu, whether you're actually expanding, whether you're doing virtual brands, et cetera, which brings me to kind of the last point. And we've seen really innovative brands, many of which you will hear from over the next day or so, or have already heard from, like Wade a few minutes ago. And that's that, how do you really maximize how you're utilizing that footprint? In the case of, and this spans from very small brands to mid-market brands to much larger brands. Our partners like Brinker obviously doing amazing things out of a very small footprint, whether it's Chili's, Maggiano's, their virtual brands. Our partners in Doghouse are operating 5 to 6 brands under one hood, all under the same kind of culinary team and same supply chain and so forth. And then even smaller brands like Fresh Brothers, out of the Southern California area, broke apart their salad and their underlying primary cuisine with a pizza. But really being thoughtful about how you're utilizing that square feet, meaningful marketing, technology to underpin it, and at the end of the day, making sure you're in a trade area that makes sense where people live and work, which is what our primary focus is.
Yeah. That's a great point. Thank you, Michael. Michael Beacham from REEF. Same question. Pretend I'm launching. I want to launch a ghost kitchen. What warnings and encouragement would you give? And what
I think I would agree with everything Michael said. I'd tag on a little bit on the location side of it, of the physical infrastructure. We as restaurant operators for decades tried to squeeze that kitchen so small, so that we would have the largest dining rooms possible, thinking that would help our throughput. Now I think if you talk to most operators, they'll say that their dining rooms are underutilized, and they've got to deal with this estate. Every brand out there is launching some new version of a limited size drive-through delivery only concept, but they've got these massive estates of restaurants. Whether you're a local street side operator or you're a chain, in most cases you've got capacity built in. But I think you need to figure out what problem you're trying to solve for. If you have capacity on your main hot line on a Friday or Saturday night, and you're dealing with the labor challenges of wages going up, supply chain challenges of rising costs, top line sales cures all ills. And so if you can find a way to drive more sales through that unit without adding complexity to an already very complex model, then it's a win. If you do have a busy hotline on a Friday or Saturday night, and you think you're going to add 2 or 3 ghost kitchen brands that are going to go out the back door, you're probably going to run into problems because the delivery time periods that people are ordering are the same time that you're putting pressure onto your line. So if you understand what problem you're trying to solve, maybe it's that back line, that's your prep line, that's quiet at night, that could be utilized for certain brands. And therefore, you design your cuisine of that ghost kitchen brand to be able to fit where you have capacity in your space to be able to operate out of. I think a lot of people think too much into it. Wings brands are really easy to execute if you've got the equipment and you've got the capacity. Brands like Wow Bao, no plug just for my buddy Geoff, but really, really good, high quality, easy to execute. Mr. Beast, another one that's got a great product market fit, but you've got to go into it thinking about how not to implode your existing business, but solve what you're trying to solve, which is add some more revenue to the top line to offset some of the rising costs that people are experiencing.
Nice, thank you, Michael. Geoff Alexander from Waba, we'd love to hear your response to these critical considerations, and then also your thoughts of your own about what a ghost kitchen might need to launch.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if I have responses to what both Michael and Michael said. I think they hit it all spot on. I mean, then the most important thing that I take away from it is what Michael Beacham just said, is we all have capacity. All of us have the ability, and Wade talked about this just a few minutes ago. You have the infrastructure of people who know how to cook your food. And I said recently on another invite presentation that 80% of our sales come from 20% of our menu. So if you have a 50 item menu, I'm sorry, how hard is it for you to lose 15 of those items? I know they're sacred cows. I know that one customer comes once every 6 months and is going to get mad. But if you limit those few items, you can bring on a second brand or create a second brand. You have the infrastructure, you have the ability. And the technology that we're seeing outside in the startup alley and in the room next door, there's a lot out there to make it work and make it easy accessible to be able to do this work, whether it's integration of the POS or just the fact that all the kids you're hiring know how to use an iPad. So there's a lot that can be done. To your original question, though, about what do you need to think about if you're turning this on, I think the first thing is it has to be great food. We're all in the food business. It's what we do, and the food has to be spectacular. The second thing is you have to have great packaging. Your existing restaurant concept packaging may not work for that other brand you're creating. If you just start serving chicken wings tomorrow, I don't know if your containers are going to keep the chicken wings hot or the celery cold. And then, the other thing I think that has to be thought about is a virtual brand has no signage. It has no storefront. It has no way for people to know it exists. And the marketing of how you do this is the real secret sauce to be figured out. You exist on the third-party platforms, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. You live on their site. And if you're creating another pizza restaurant, I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't scroll past 2 thumbs up on my iPhone, right? And there could be 70 pizza restaurants. Wow Bao for us, just a shameless plug here, Asian has a small competitive set. So we usually show up right away. And that's what you want to do, is create something that is going to be visible. You can always pay to market, you can pay to play on the third-party apps, but how you get yourself out there is very important. And that's done by great execution, great reviews, word of mouth. But at the end of the day, that's the thing you have to do, is you have to be able to tell people it exists. Otherwise, it's just another couple of menu items that aren't moving through your kitchen.
Thank you, Geoff. Hanson Li from Salt Partners.
I think for me, I have a bunch of independent concepts, right? And I started Lazy Susan last year as a Chinese takeout for takeout and delivery. And I'm opening brick and mortars. I am also, thinking heavily on expanding Lazy Susan through the new infrastructure, right? The distribution platforms that you're building and you're building. The question that I struggle with, so I don't have an answer to your questions, like is my next question, right, is am I getting just more transactions, right, through these extra capacity, or am I really gaining customers, right? And a little bit of what Geoff's talking about, right, is transactions are great, sales are great, but it doesn't work if I have to get them every single time again and again, right? So that's the branding component you talk about. That's how, Courtney talked about yesterday, right, in terms of earning those customers over time. And that's where I think, successful brands have built, right? It's customers, not just a meal or transactions. So I think for me, I'm continuing to learn about and figuring out how I have my own capacity, I have these new capacity and production capacities. that is being offered, right, by providers on stage here. But truly, how am I getting that customer for good versus just an orange chicken for tonight, and then I don't see him or her again. And by the way, if he comes back 2 months from now, I have to reacquire them, right? And that economics would not work.
Yeah, Hanson, you set up what I was planning to ask as the next question. You were referring to Courtney Maxedon's presentation yesterday on mastering the art of business intelligence. Courtney's with Kahala Brands. We had a great conversation yesterday. What all of you said, and especially Hanson's point about growing your customer base, not just your transactions. And Geoff, you alluded to digital, the importance of digital marketing. So I just want to put that out there. If somebody has, obviously the potential to reach people through social media is greater than ever, but you got to know the game and you got to do that right. And I just wonder if you guys have thoughts about that, best practices.
Having invested in technologies since 2004, seeing the rise of e-commerce, seeing where, when there were a day when you buy a pair of shoes, you go to a shoe shop, right? And now you can buy shoes every which way. I think for us as a restaurant industry, there's just a lot of vehicles and platforms and channels, right, for customers to buy that food now. And so the e-commerce specification, right, of our industry is changing rapidly, right? A lot of what we talked about didn't exist 5 years ago, 7 years ago. So I think there is a catching up in terms of what consumers expect from an e-commerce experience that they have with a lot of other industry already that they don't get from us. So, somehow we, again, I'm speaking as an independent operator, right? And I don't have my own IT team. I'm not developing my own apps. I have to rely on vendors, right? And creating my stack, right? By piecing things together. A little bit of what Taffer talked about this morning, right? In terms of the solutions, right? Of the tech that I see out there, the software, the hardware. They don't work together very well right now, guys. So, and that causes a lot of trouble, right? For team members, right? To learn the different things that comes into their kitchen or in turn, how they serve customers. So I think that's definitely a challenge, and for us to catch up to the customer expectations.
Right. Michael, do you have thoughts about digital marketing?
Yeah, I would say that what's interesting about Ghost Kitchen, Michael and Geoff probably can add on this, but you're really talking about a 15-minute delivery radius. And it's not to overcomplicate it. You have a trade area, and you need people to know that you're selling food there for pickup, delivery, walk-up, whatever it may actually be. In some cases, we're in grocery stores. In some cases, we're in malls. Some cases, we have our own standalone buildings. But the digital marketing is certainly a major component of it. Presence on the third-party marketplaces, your own, social or search. But it's also just getting the word out. I mean, a lot of still traditional marketing mechanisms are quite effective when you're just, think about it very simply. It's you have this area and you need all those
Still
people,
location.
whether it's a college campus or whether it's a hospital or whatever it is, you need them to know that you're actually there. And so it is, we consider it to be much more of an omni-channel marketing experience, not just to think, okay, it's a, more tech-focused investors are funding these underlying customers, and that means that you can only advertise online, certainly a big component to it, but it's still a very, you got to think about it as a more wholesome, robust marketing exercise. And those that are doing that do quite well right out of the gates. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Michael Beacham.
I think, when Hanson pointed out, you can order shoes anywhere, online now. But we are a very, very complex business. It's a perishable business. As Michael pointed out, it's a tight window. It's 15 minutes. So you can have the most astute marketing strategies, digital strategies, but proximity to the customer is key. And the closer you get to the customer, the better, cheaper, faster that delivery is going to happen. I think one of the things we've heard several people point out, even Wade talked about, in terms of expanding your customer base, going into areas that you wouldn't traditionally be able to get into. Today, right now, TGI Fridays doesn't have a single operating unit, as far as I'm aware, in Manhattan. But they have a 94% name recognition. So they're not capitalizing on 45 years or 50 years of brand building out of one of the most populated parts of the country. And so what going into dark kitchens or a digital format allows is for you to be able to take brands, whether it be a local hero who doesn't have the capital to be able to expand into locations throughout his city to get to that 15-minute circle, or big brands that are traditionally suburban based to get into these markets in a way where they can reach customers and acquire loyal new customers or their existing customer base in a way they never could.
Cool. Thank you, Geoff.
I sort of take this approach a little differently than my colleagues on the stage here. So the way WowBow works is we sell our product through distribution, and operators can buy our product, and you're reselling it out the back door. So if I'm gonna use Fridays, since you brought up Fridays. I don't work with Fridays. I'd like to, if anyone's in the room. But we sell the product, and Fridays buys it. It's not, in my mind, feasible that the manager of the Fridays is gonna go within a 15-minute radius and hand out flyers about WowBow. They would do that about Fridays, I would think. I don't think they're gonna spend their time on my brand. It might be different for Wade and team at Brinker because Chili's owns Montagano's and they own their Just Wings concept, so maybe they will run around and do it. So I don't think that you have the local guerrilla marketing aspect available to you. I wish we did. It would be the best answer. So then we rely on the third parties to market because there is no other way to market. We don't own any customer data. I don't have email lists, right? It all goes through Uber and DoorDash. They own all of this. Here's the next big thing for someone in the tech audience to build. Everything we do for marketing, we try to drive people to wowbow.com. We partner with DoorDash storefront system, which if they come through wowbow.com, they get transferred over to DoorDash's platform, but we collect the customer data because they came through our portal. So everything we're doing for marketing, whether it's social, Google, local press releases, anything we can do, it's to drive traffic to that location so we can build our network to help that operator get more sales for WowBow. And shout out to Andrew and the Patronics team next door. We just signed a deal, I think it was literally days ago. We are gonna be launching a loyalty program on a national scale where you could go to wowbow.com and put your numbers in there and you're gonna get points for your meals and where no matter who operator it is that's working with it, and then you're gonna be able to get your 5th order free or $10 on 100, whatever it's gonna be. We haven't figured out the detail yet. But that's how you have to do it. We have to find as operators, as restaurateurs, as entrepreneurs, how to get the customer off of the third-party platforms and be able to market them to continue to grow this, this incredible revenue stream of ghost kitchens, which literally is in the infancy stages right now. And there's so much opportunity becoming to grow that business and give more to the operators and continue to grow how the top line sales.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Geoff. So what I'm seeing, the dependence on third party, of course, this is not unique to ghost kitchens. This is, this is industry wide, but the dependence on third party, especially for ghost kitchens, says to me that you're trusting last mile delivery to somebody you don't know, and guest feedback is, I'm guessing, is more complicated because you mentioned you can't just add people to your loyalty program through third party, but I'm guessing that getting the kind of guest feedback you might desire becomes trickier too. Does anybody have any comments about that? I'm interested more in what maybe is a potential solution.
But before we do it, let's all be very clear. In my opinion, and I'm not going to speak for anyone else, the third party saved the restaurant industry, as far as I'm concerned, during the pandemic, because we weren't allowed to have anyone in our restaurants and none of us had delivery set up. So I'm not knocking the third parties anyway. They, as far as I'm concerned, they saved us and they allowed me to grow my brand. So let's be clear on that. I do wish they gave me data so I could market. I do wish that they would help me be able to promote my brand better. But yes, we all live in this world right now where we are relying on them to get our product from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And we do, at the end of the day, if something's missing from the order or something's wrong with the order, they're not calling their third parties. They're reaching out to the brand because it's the brand's fault, even though we all know it's not. And that's just customer behavior. Yeah. That's just service behavior at the end of the day. I mean, it's funny, if I order shoes from Zappos and they're wrong, I don't call Nike. I do go back to Zappos for it, but I think that's because Zappos created an environment of having the best customer service out there. Yeah. The third parties aren't trying to do that. They're providing a service, period. And the way that we have to deal with that, which I don't think is a bad thing that we have to deal with the customer who has a complaint, because at the end of the day, we're in the hospitality business. We've been dealing with customer complaints for years. That's how we built our business. That's how we built our customer base. That's how we build loyalty, is how we handle that stuff. Is it another pain point for us? It is another hurdle how we have to jump through, another headache we have to deal with. Our entire day is headaches. But I think what we want at the end of the day is how do we build that trust? And ghost kitchens are all about trust. You don't know where your food's coming from. You don't know who's delivering it, who's making it. You're just sitting on a couch and want your food. And it's the brand's job to build trust.
And I think there's a tension, right? We are working in a ghost environment where the brand exists like a Nike brand. But to your point, the food is made locally, is there, it should get there in good time, right? So you have this kind of amorphous brand that one might be building off the Ghost Kitchen platform, but yeah, you're delivering at the micro level, right, at the local level, where, yeah, a little billboard in part of downtown San Francisco might work really well, right, for that local marketing. So that's the, I think, tension, right, in terms of what customers have already expected from their e-commerce transactions.
Say that all over again.
What he said.
I thought my voice just became so clear. No echo in my ear. Very quickly, the tension between building a national brand of Ghost Kitchen infrastructure, but yet delivering locally, and your customers at the local level, I think that is something that the customers might expect, I am that ND buying Nike from Zappos, but happen that Nike is made 50 minutes away. And how does those two resolve each other?
Yeah, look, our solution, you asked about kind of what the solutions are. Ours was to create our own micro marketplace of the ecosystem that lives within one of our facilities. And the idea is that you have a blended mix so that you don't have a lot of competition within the site, and that you would eventually drive people back and your reorder rates would be super high because you're still giving the variety for your kid to order a chicken sandwich and your spouse to order salad and you to order sushi, all under one ticket, one transaction fee, one delivery driver, to give the variety, but to give them a reason to come back. And instead of being, in some cases, adverse, to your restaurant partners, being a joint venture with them where you have universal data sharing. If they want to remarket those customers, fantastic. We're going to remarket those customers too to offer them kind of the underlying mix. If they want to order directly from a brand, they can order directly from a brand. But take out all the commotion that you see and narrow it down to, hey, these are the 10, 15, 20 different brands that I actually like to order from on an ongoing basis. And then you create loyalty, you create rewards, your reorder rates are better, and then your restaurant partners don't necessarily feel as slighted. But I agree, a good portion of our volume does come from the third-party marketplaces too. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, but we thought we can supplement that, drive more incremental volume in, and do it in more of a partnership.
But what you have to do is you have to drive traffic to your site now. That's the hard part.
And that's what we do, right? That we've spent 4 years doing that, but it is the hard part, right? And that's why we think it's a little bit of a hybrid between the marketplaces and the brands, where the brands may not want to spend those type of marketing dollars. Well, we'll lean into it because a little bit more scale coming through the facility. But I definitely agree.
I think one of the tough parts is, as restaurateurs, we have a tendency to want to control every part of the experience for good reason. We want to make sure that what the customer gets is the best quality possible. And I'll echo what everyone on the panel said, that the third parties saved us through COVID. We're an industry that doesn't evolve very easily. We're reluctant. We probably went 20, 30 years with the exact same kitchen equipment in most of our facilities. And over the last year and a half, we've had to change so rapidly that all the 5-year plans, all of the looking far down the road past 6 months goes out the door. And I think we're right now today probably one of the most nerve-wracking but challenging parts of our history. If we look at last summer, where a lot of us were DoorDash and then some of the third-party delivery had driver shortages, we'd produce food, it'd sit in bags, it wouldn't get picked up, and the customer's blaming the restaurant. The driver never came. And now we're, in the last week, seeing gas prices skyrocket, going up 10, 12 cents a day and continuing to go. We don't know how far it'll go. We don't know, there's a price point as to how much people are willing to pay for delivery. Will it tip over and that model not work? will the third-party platforms be able to balance in a way that we can continue to get food in people's hands? It's got to come from somewhere. There's only so many fees that can come in. I think we're headed for some disruption in all of that. And those that, to echo what John said this morning, those that are flexible, adaptable, and have partners like in the room that provide solutions are going to be the ones that prevail, and the ones that sort of hold on and say, nope, I'm going to stay steady, I'm not going to change, are going to struggle.
Thank you. I wish we had more time because we're just getting warmed up here. This is amazing. I've learned so much. I know the audience has too. I want you to thank these gentlemen, Geoff Alexander from Wow, Michael Beacham from REEF, Hanson Li from Salt Partners, and Michael Montagano from Kitchen United.
One. Sorry.